LongWalker here again. I'm doing another set of videos that we're gonna sit and watch and move on again. If you have anything to say, please let me know and we'll go from there. Um, let's see what we have on the playlist here. Input is always good, ladies and gentlemen.
Continuing the discussion on Eastern Western
Yeah.
versus
Eastern versus Western philosophy is what we are discussing, continuing it from last night. So I got a few more videos and we'll go from there. Daughter bought and set these up for us, so let's see what she has in store for us.
In the 1930s, there was an interesting conversation between the greatest Indian poet and philosopher Tagore and the greatest German scientist Einstein. The conversation centered on the idea of reality, truth, and beauty. Einstein believed in an objective reality outside the human, while Tagore insisted on the subjective interpretation of reality. To boil it down, Einstein believed in the old theory of physics, solid matter existing with or without humans, while Tagore was alluding to the mysterious theory of quantum physics, that our perception or observation of matter is never really objective. The conversation illustrated the differences in Eastern and Western ways of thinking about reality, one more pragmatic while the other more spiritual. Now let's look at a typical hero in the East and West. A Western hero wants to change the world to make it better for himself and those around him, while an Eastern hero wants to change himself. Western superheroes fight evil to restore justice, peace, correct the incorrect, while Asian heroes either accept their fate or retreat to a forest for some contemplation. Jesus, perhaps the greatest Western hero, confronted injustice and paid for it with his own life. A sacrifice you can see manifest in Harry Potter as well. The Buddha, the founder of Buddhism, however, went to the forest to change himself. Lao Tzu, the founder of Taoism, retreated to the mountains. In other words, Western philosophy is about change, while Eastern philosophy is more about accepting your fate. A great example of this in literature can be seen in the novels of the Japanese British Nobel Prize-winning author Kazuo Ishiguro. His characters obey their fate and rarely question their somewhat unfair circumstances. However, a typical hero in the West would rebel against their circumstance to change the world. Accepting one's fate or putting up with an unfavorable environment is seen as a sign of weakness in the West, while those same traits are seen as a sign of strength in the East. By the East, my focus is mainly old India, China, and Japan. So a Western hero wants to change the world, while an Eastern hero wants to change himself to adapt. In today's world, East and West have come.
Alright, ladies and gentlemen, so this first video is more on the philosophies of the Eastern philosophies versus the Western philosophies, so we will learn this together so that we know more of what we're stepping into here. I got a video to finish that up in the middle, and then there's one of the last ones is another MTR, mediocre tutorial and review. I love him. He does great work, and recommend anybody that likes this stuff. You'll love what he does. So go check him out if you haven't already.
Together a lot because Western mode of production, i.e. capitalism, has taken over the world. But if you look closer, a bit deeper, you see a clear philosophical distinction. And if you go back in time, the distinction appears more clear. Why has Eastern philosophy's main focus been on mental well-being, happiness, and spirituality and community, while Western philosophy's main focus has been physical well-being, rational science, technology, materialism, and individualism? Of course, this is a broad generalization, as there are so many philosophers on either side who are exceptions to the rule. But generally speaking, the main distinction is spiritualism versus materialism, community versus individualism. So in this video, I'll look at some of the answers, but also give more detail about the differences between Eastern and Western philosophy. Does the climate, terrain, and the soil have anything to do with it? Are merchants more concerned with materialism and farmers more with spirituality? Western philosophy, as we know, has its roots in ancient Greece and later in Rome. The Greeks and Romans were influenced by other civilizations such as the Egyptians and the Babylonians. But there are very little or no written records of an organized philosophy prior to the Greeks. Eastern philosophy has its roots in Indian civilization and the Chinese civilization. If you look at their geographies, Greece is made up of some islands between the Mediterranean Sea and the Black Sea. So large bodies of water sandwiching the land areas. So if you want to move around, all you need is a boat and you could hop from island to island. This allows much smoother way to move things around. There's less friction on water than land. The ancient Greeks heavily relied on imported food due to its soil not being very fertile. As a result, the Greeks relied on trades which brought goods from Egypt, Mesopotamia, Central Europe, and more. But with this commodity trade also came ideas and knowledge. So the region was a hub of cultural, scientific, and technological exchange. This promoted a more rational discourse which allowed the Greeks to develop a more sophisticated science. For example, Euclid's Elements is the oldest science book, which I'm sure was influenced by the Egyptians, the Babylonians, and the Phoenicians. Pythagoras developed his mathematics. Aristotle studied all kinds of things, including animals. In fact, the first Greek philosopher, Thales, was an olive merchant himself who based his philosophy on water being the most important thing in the world. He famously predicted that good weather, i.e., lots of rain, produced lots of olives, so he got very rich. So the Greeks relied on trade, which allowed the exchanges of ideas and practical sciences. Indian and Chinese civilizations, however, are more centered around rivers and mountains. In other words, quite different from ancient Greece. India and China were blessed by its many rivers that brought amazing soil from the Himalayas, so their agricultural economy could sustain a huge population in big cities, making China and India mostly self-sufficient. Trade with other peoples was a plus, but not essential. China's Yellow and Yangtze rivers and ancient India's Indus and the Ganges rivers are all stored in the snowy mountains of Himalayas and traverse thousands of kilometers, which bring the fertile soil. It's no surprise that both India and China relied on a crop that is incredibly water thirsty, rice. It's also no surprise that Sadhguru, the greatest Indian guru in the world today, has a simple message: save the soil. Because soil and farming run really deep in Eastern philosophy. So Greece's geographical terrain allowed trade to flourish between various peoples and cultures, while ancient China and India relied on their rivers to bring good soil to them. The Greeks had to seek food from somewhere else, while the Chinese and Indians waited for their rivers to bring food to them. As a result, from a survival point of view, for the Greeks, merchants were the most important class of people, while in the East, farmers were the most important class of people. Since merchants are mobile while farmers are stationary because you cannot carry around your land, these allowed the Greeks to be more open-minded to new ideas, new technology, new sciences. Merchants are also less attached to their ways, therefore easily follow the market or commodity. Today you sell rice, tomorrow potato. Farmers, however, have a harder time to change and adapt quickly. So Western philosophy geared more towards pragmatic sciences, while Eastern philosophy geared more towards spiritualism. If merchants don't like something, they change. But if farmers don't get enough water...
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, again, that just refers back to what I have said before, that Eastern philosophy revolves around the spirituality, when Western is more about consumerism and materialism. So, just more on that.
They wait for the following season or accept their fate. It's harder to leave your land and migrate. So Western philosophy is more change-oriented, while Eastern philosophy is more fatalistic. In other words, you change yourself. Climate also plays a role. India and China tend to be warmer throughout there, so it makes sense to be in here and now, which Buddhism teaches. Also, seasons play a predictable pattern every year, and people live a more cyclical life. Monsoon comes every year. Rivers flood at a specific time of the year. In a way, it was very similar to the Egyptian way of life around the River Nile. Of course, when you rely on a river, you also experience great famines, but they come every few years or decades. The Greeks navigated the seas where you're, for the most part, in control of where you're going. Meanwhile, Eastern civilizations were centered around rivers. On rivers, your course is fixed. The river takes you where the river takes you. As a result, Eastern philosophy is more fatalistic. The fate of humans, animals, and plants are in the hands of the... It meant that they saw all...
So again, Eastern philosophy and Eastern culture revolves around the natural cycles of what everything is.
living beings as part of one big family. So they didn't put humans as being outsiders or special or above everybody else. In Hinduism, Buddhism, and Taoism, we are not only from nature, we are nature, just like other living beings. The Greeks, however, experienced colder winters, so they had to source and accumulate food for colder days. Since they relied on trade, wars always disrupted trade routes, which meant you had to source your food from somewhere else. Merchants relied on peacetime to continue trade, but they also benefited from wars as certain commodities were more sought after. It is the old adage, war fuels the economy, as money is moved around faster than peacetime. Since things are pretty unpredictable, the Greeks had to think long term and prepare not just for the cold winter, but for the future in case of warfare. Future became the most important time, not here now, but next month, next year. You couldn't afford to be here now like a Zen Buddhist. So this long term or linear perception of time became the dominant way of looking at the world among the Greeks. A famous example is Aristotle's teleological philosophy that everything has a purpose, usually a single destination in the future. Western philosophy also, through an exchange with the Middle Eastern religions like Judaism, Christianity, and later Islam, came to understand that humans were separate from the animal kingdom. We are kicked out of the Garden of Eden, punished for our mistakes. As a result, you try to compensate for your past mistakes. You want to correct the incorrect. What do? You fight for causes.
All right, what they were just talking about there is that Eastern philosophy says that we are even with the animals and we are one among them, when, as you just see, whereas Western says that humans are above and humans are different.
You always get that. You say, well, they're there for our use, and it's like,
Yeah.
They were a partnership. Now they're pets, and I have a problem with people that keep animals as pets because they have their own line of they have their own thing that they're doing. They have their own destiny. Just because they happen to intermingle with ours for a while doesn't mean that they're meant to be like kept in the way that people keep them. It's just one of those things.
It for sure is. And ladies and gentlemen, Daughter of Otten's here with me again, and she's watching the chat room too. If you guys say anything, I'll know about it. So
watch what you say.
Yeah, let's advance on.
If you look at literature, heroes are often people who have sinned or made terrible mistakes. To redeem themselves, they fight injustice. One way to fight for injustice is to make other people's life better, often materially. You study the world, you invent new technology to make life easier for others. Eastern philosophers were not looking for material comfort, but more for mental and spiritual comfort. Buddha and Lao Tzu left the city and their spiritual quest and went to the mountains and forests. Solitude allows you to seek answers inside you, not on the outside. Even today, most Buddhist temples in India, Japan, and China are located in the mountains and forests, away from the crowd, so people can get away from other people. The core doctrine of Buddhism is that material comfort doesn't make you happy in the long run. The Greeks, however, gathered in the city to debate and dialogue like Socrates, who would walk around on the streets of Athens asking people questions, while others established schools like Plato's.
Now that's another big one, that the Eastern philosophy relies on. I lost it. I had a good one there. All right, let's just continue.
With them talking about some of the Western ways and talking about some of the philosophers and how they were able to, like this when they're saying just walk around on the streets and ask people questions and come up with these ideas and everything. There was definitely good that came out of that. And just like say, to stay out of the city. The city was once a place where you went to learn from the libraries and stuff, so it wasn't always so bad, but you have to limit it. You can't just be in it. You can't live in the city. You go to the city, and that even means that mindset. So when they say the cities, even in biblically speaking, I do believe it means like the worldly, materialistic mindset. So
it surely does, yes.
So it's okay to visit the city and visit that mindset from time to time and learn from it, but always come back to your roots, to nature.
Yes.
And live in the Eastern mindset.
And the Romans and the Greeks with the Western philosophy, they went overboard as far as they would consume so much food. Mm-hmm. Gluttony. Mm-hmm. And I mean, that's what the Western way has gotten to. Mm-hmm. You see all the fast food that is consumed daily. I mean, there was specials with the, what was it, Super Size Me?
Yeah.
On TV that they talked about how the average American eats one meal of fast food every single day.
Every single day. Somebody has one meal, whether it's the breakfast that you grab on the way to work, or the
Yes.
lunch that you grab, or the dinner on the way home.
And thank God with where we live, there is no fast food around. The closest area is an hour away.
Yeah. So it's like,
to any fast food,
and we
to
gotta
anything.
hoof it. We have to walk, or
yeah, and we don't own a car, so when I go out, I walk to get to where I'm going, and I mean this is up two steep mountains, no matter which way I go.
Like they were saying, the eastern way is to not understand that material comfort isn't true comfort, and so
Yes.
we've adopted that. We've returned to our roots because our people were once river people as well, until we crossed the deserts. But you have to. They say that in solitary and away from all that stuff is where you gain more strength, more health.
Yes.
And it's true. So many people that live in the city and have the Western mindset are so sick, like all the time. There's some ailment. Pain,
yeah, they have to be like most of the people that I know have to move back to the city because I have to be close to a hospital.
Yeah.
What if something happens? Now, I mean, childbirth. So many people are going to the hospital. We had ours at home, an hour away from any hospital or any intervention.
Yeah.
We had a nurse there, but we were an hour away. I mean, there's no way that Dr. Lawton here even said it. She could not be in the hospital to give birth.
No, and it's just there's. I've seen another documentary that I might watch on my channel too about the business of giving birth and how much it costs, and how it's always this huge emergency, and it's like the most natural thing in the world, and it's like you find out that our birth rates are like among the third world countries.
Yeah.
And we're supposed to be some big shining beacon of material like wealth and everything, and this is what happens.
Yeah, and I mean they look down on you if you like. We went to the hospital a day after just to get him checked out and make sure everything
It was the same day.
good.
It was just a few hours.
Yeah, a few hours after, and they're looking down on us like, oh, you had him at home.
And then they punished us by keeping us there for 3 days.
Yeah,
anyway.
still 3 days.
They could never find anything wrong with him, though. They really, really looked, and they were like, well, this could have happened and that could have happened. The doctors were not so bad.
It was the nurses more.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it's like, I knew the people that I knew personally too, like Greg, not a friend Greg, but my mother's Greg. He was like, well, you're just lucky that nothing happened. And it was like, no, dude, this is natural. I personally have seen millions of births from different animals over the years, and it's so rare to have something go
It's
wrong.
so natural to
it's
have
so
them.
natural, yeah. And even in the instances that something has gone wrong, it's been able to be corrected with very minimal intervention.
Yes.
Usually the animals will just twist around and take care of it themselves if there's like a cord issue or whatever. And,
exactly.
It's
but
very rare.
People panic way too much.
Yeah, because of the way the Western mentality is.
Yes.
It's like, please come to us and trust us. We'll take care of it. No mess. Very little pain. We'll take care of it. That's just, it's ease and convenience. And they said that it started off with the Western mindset. It made sense because, they needed to make provisions to make through the winter, where our people would have had stuff like year-round. We wouldn't have had to worry about that.
Yeah, for
So
sure.
I understand why that started. But then when you start saying that not so long after that, they had the excess, like you're talking about in Rome,
yes,
where they're having banquets to where they throw up 5 or 6 times throughout the night just so they can eat more.
It
didn't take too long.
It's blasphemy.
It is. It's excess. Continue.
All right, continuing on.
Academy or Aristotle's Lyceum. Western philosophy relied on dialogue and exchange, like merchants do, to flourish, learn, and improve. The West built universities, churches, and schools in the middle of town and villages so everyone could come, not some remote temples that nobody could go to. In Eastern philosophy, you don't force your will on nature to control or change it, but you try to flow with nature. Since both India and Chinese civilization were centered around rivers, often river flow is seen as nature's way, in which you don't resist or remove obstacles in your way, but move around those obstacles. In other words, you change yourself, not the outside world. A good example is Indian traffic moves around an obstacle, be it a cow or an accident. While in the West, a small accident on the road brings everything to a halt. So Eastern philosophy tells you to be more fluid, flexible like yoga, and less rigid. But Western philosophy relies on manipulating nature through science and technology to make life easier for humans. As a result, we live in a very comfortable period in history. Millions of people couldn't survive to adulthood, but today, child mortality is its lowest in history. People live longer, healthier. But this also has negative consequences for other species on Earth, as the more comfortable we are, the harder it becomes for some other species in some areas. Asians are on average physically smaller than Europeans, perhaps due to genetic mutation or sexual selection, or possibly due to eating less protein, as farmers rely on rice, which is a staple diet in most of Asia. How to cope with poor diet? Martial arts in China and yoga in India are used to strengthen and discipline the body. Eastern philosophy center on the body as a vehicle to get to a higher place. And this also means Eastern
Yes.
philosophy is more about avoiding conflict rather than confronting others. Taoism and Buddhism and Hinduism promote non-violence. Vegetarianism, although trendy in the West today, has been practiced in the East for thousands of years. Jainism.
Alright, that what I just showed on there. Now, the Western philosophy is conquer the world, make the world one by force. The Eastern philosophy is conquer yourself to make a better world. Instead of wars, take care of yourself, get yourself right, and then if everybody does that, the
Yeah.
world will become a better place.
An Indian religion that promotes strict vegetarian diet, and Gandhi, a pacifist himself, admired Jainism for that. Unlike Asians, the Greeks ate a lot of bread, which is 4 times more protein rich than rice. Since the Greek states were constantly fighting against one another, as well as the Persians, they developed the Olympic Games, which was to train soldiers for wars. It is no surprise that it was the Greeks who made it all the way to India through Alexander the Great. While we have no records of invading armies from India or China going to Persia or the Middle East,
Right.
it was the nomadic
Just built
Mongols
their
who made
empire.
it to Europe, not the more sophisticated civilizations like the Chinese and Indians. In fact, the Chinese built walls to shield themselves from the Mongols. And India was ravaged by a series of invasions by the Greeks,
We
the
have an eye
Persians, the
attack.
Muslims, the Mongols, and even the British. Why? Eastern philosophy is less centered on conquering the world, but conquering yourself. For example, Buddhism is centered on the inner conflict of
know.
fighting or resisting your own desires. If you focus on your inner conflict, you're less likely to engage in an external physical conflict such as tribal or ideological. In Hindu yogi teaching, your soul is the real you, while your physical body is acquired through food you put in your mouth. Not just that, you also acquire your ego or the sense of self through impressions and experiences with others. So your soul is permanent and your body and ego are temporary, fleeting, and acquired. Now, Einstein versus Tagore conversation on the nature of reality makes sense. Einstein sees an external world, while Tagore sees everything internal. In other words, yogi philosophy is based on the pursuit of becoming one with the universe. Quantum physics has a similar theory that as soon as you observe something, you change it. In other words, we are not separate from the world or universe, we are with the universe. The world is not outside us, but we are the universe. It's inside us. So yoga is one way to tap into or get closer to your universal soul by taming your body and ego and desires. The idea is to let your soul control you, not your body control your soul. Eastern philosophy is based on negation of self, while Western philosophy is firmly rooted in the idea of individual self. As a result of this, the East tends to be more communitarian, where the individual is less important than the community or the universe, while the West tends to be more individualistic. Buddhism's core philosophy is to remove the self to ease suffering. Wanting or desiring is seen as negative because you are feeding the ego. The Greeks are more of a merchant's mentality to grow
Grounding
more
person.
profit and become wealthier and wealthier. Merchants are more focused on material success and less concerned with the spiritual side of life. As a result, it was the Greeks who developed a more rational and scientific
really
method to
Greece.
understand the material world. This scientific method allowed objectivity, which meant that Greek scholars could disagree with their mentors. Even thinkers like Plato openly disagreed with his
You start
teacher,
to see those trends, you
Socrates,
start to see
and
that now, like
Aristotle
Gen Z.
questioned
That was
Plato.
Yes.
In
essentially
the
Gen
East,
Z
however,
for them.
openly questioning your teacher was and still is a form of disrespect.
It's like talking about a form of disrespect. It's like
Yep.
they were encouraged to be disagreeable, and we are also that way here in the West. And something that we've even adopted as a culture is
It really
it's
is.
good to see that your child questions authority, but you're not going to find that in Eastern mentality. It's just you respect your elders.
Yeah,
Even
exactly.
if you disagree with them, you do so silently. in the Western way, they are encouraged to be loud and you're encouraged to be opinionated, and it's literally just the same pattern that's happening again.
Well, yeah, and it's like, you know, the Eastern mentality is in all of tribes or anybody that has to live with a lot of people in a
And a
bigger
lot of
area.
animals.
Yeah,
Yep. Or
because
very few people.
all the native tribes, they were the same
Yep.
Eastern mentality.
Even here, that's why I said I get a little ruffled in the feathers when they talk about here in the West they don't do that, and I'm like, but they were doing it.
Yeah,
Before, you know,
the
colonization.
colonization.
Yeah, before like westward expansion and everything
Yeah.
came from all of those European clusters out
'Cause
there, you know.
that's what worked.
Yeah, and so I mean it was happening here, but then it got washed away.
Exactly.
So yeah, so it's like it's not geography, it's just a mindset. You
It
know?
is, for
And
sure.
perhaps you have, I guess I see it. You know, it did start. It started somewhere.
Yes.
You know, and of course, like I said, that you know, Greece and Rome was always west to the rest of these cultures, so that's why it was called, you know, the Western way.
Western, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, a little bit left on this one.
And instead
then
of
the next
finding
one.
flaws in
Next one's
those
not as
older
long,
than
and then
you,
you have two
you're
lengthy arcs
supposed
to
to
choose
respect.
from.
This
Okay.
is especially important
Well,
in
not choose from, but
Confucianism.
they're there.
Sensei is someone you do not
The
challenge.
first one's a little long.
Western philosophy makes a distinction between good and evil as almost separate entities and separate individuals or even groups. Often in warfare, the enemy is seen as evil to motivate your soldiers to die in defense of good. This is true on both sides. So once you assign goodness with one way of seeing the world, the opposite of that is naturally bad or even evil. This battle of good against evil allows progress. Those victorious can claim goodness. In these, however, both good and bad are seen as more psychological and less ideological. So
The
good
yin
and
and
bad
yang.
are one or two sides of the same coin. The yin and yang in Taoism means every person has dark and light, good and evil built in them. Good and evil
It's all
coexist,
about
so no
balance,
matter
ladies
how
and
much a
gentlemen.
society progresses, it doesn't change the core yin-yang existence. We as humans are neither good nor bad, but a bit of both. Our job is to understand this so we keep a good balance between the two forces. I think the most fundamental difference between Eastern and Western philosophy is the idea of linear progress. In the West, versus a cyclical notion in the East, especially in Indian philosophy. The Greeks believed in progress. Socrates developed his questioning method of getting to the objective truth. Plato introduced the idea of perfection, and Aristotle came out with telos for purpose. So getting to Socratic truth, Platonic perfection, and Aristotelian telos or purpose gave birth to a Western progressive philosophy and science.
How the
So instead
Western
of
got
focusing too much on the
de-Westernized.
spiritual side of life, the West focused on making the physical life easier by deploying a scientific method to understand the world and invent technologies that made life easier. As a result, most people today live a comfortable life thanks to Western civilization. People live longer thanks to Western medicine and technology. When survival is no longer an issue, people seek meaning and
They live,
purpose.
they,
So Eastern philosophy plays a
okay, they might live longer, but do they live a more fulfilled and meaningful life? That is the question.
Are they saying that people in the West live longer?
They're saying, yeah, they can live longer now because of Western medicine and
I don't really wholeheartedly agree with that, because you hear, I mean, they're going back to Eastern medicine for a reason.
you know, we are now.
And
For
a
sure
lot
we're
of-
going back to Eastern medicine.
And a lot of the longest living, you know, cultures have been, you know, the Chinese and everything. And
Yes.
it's like they always attribute that stuff to herbs and animal fats. And,
For sure.
You know, so it's like, I don't know. I mean, do they? You know, it's like
Yeah.
it's just recorded that way. You know,
It
it's
is,
like,
for sure.
and
And it's just what they want it to be seen.
and it's like maybe for a little while, but I really highly doubt it now. I
Yes.
think that there's more harm that's being done by the pharmaceuticals.
Oh, for sure. Pharmaceutical company, the drug company, is completely tearing down
It's like a whole
the
other
fabric
beast.
of what we are.
Yeah, that's a whole other beast, and they're
Yeah.
working hand in hand with the fast food companies and the
Yep.
processed foods and
And it's making people weaker in the long run.
interesting.
mean-
it's interesting that they think
Yeah.
that.
major role in
Ending
bringing
to this
inner
one.
peace for millions of people in the East as well as in the West who seek meaning beyond material comfort. So, to sum up, climate, terrain, and food impacted how the East and West prioritized philosophical understanding of the world. The Greeks relied on merchants and trade, so the priority went to practical sciences and rationality. while in the East, farming allowed big cities to flourish and people live longer. As a result, philosophers were seeking happiness, not physical comfort. Life expectancy also grew in the East, which allowed more reflection in old age. When young, people seek success, but in old age, people search for meaning. Next, I'll discuss the Greek trio of Socrates, Plato, and Aristotle by looking at their similarities and differences.
All right.
The Western intellectual.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are now moving on to it's the Eastern versus Western ideas of happiness. We all know that those are very different, vastly different. And right away, I will tell you that the Western ideas of happiness revolve around how much you have and what level of commitment to
Status.
status you are. And Eastern revolves around your family, your stance with your family, and how you do, like with males, how you do as being a provider. So let's see exactly what they say. It's only 5 minutes, and then we'll move on to some more videos.
This is designed to kind of just get you into the idea of like how the past generations of women have come to be the way that they are here, and then
and
prerequisites.
Then advance on.
Tradition suggests that in order to be happy, what we need to do most of all is to go out and subdue the world, secure resources, found businesses, run governments, gain fame, and conquer nations. By contrast, the Eastern tradition has, for a long while, told us something very different. In both its Buddhist and Hindu strands, it has insisted that contentment requires us to learn to conquer, not the world, but the instrument through which we view this world, namely, our minds. It won't matter, says the East, how lustrous and perfect our achievements end up being, how much money we accumulate, how many friends we acquire, so long as our minds remain open to being troubled at any point by our emotional faculties. All the benefits of a palace with 7 reflecting pools and gardens planted with almond and cherry trees will be wiped out by a depression. Chronic anxiety will spoil the ownership of the fastest jet. A fortune is of no use at all so long as one is nagged by paranoia. An unhappy relationship at once destroys any advantages of an esteemed name. Given this vulnerability of external goods to the vagaries of the mental realm, the Eastern tradition advises us to stop spending our time trying to rearrange the material building blocks of existence, only then to fall foul of psychological ills, and to focus instead on learning how to control and manage the inherently unruly and hugely complicated instrument through which the external world reaches consciousness. Rather than striving to build empires, we need to spend many years examining how we think and dream. We have to reflect on our families, the economic systems we were brought up under, the impact of our sexual urges, and the biological and cosmological order of nature, of which we are an infinitesimal part. We have to learn how to breathe in such a way as to allow maximal oxygen to reach our frontal cortex, and to hold our bodies so that our organs are not crushed and our blood flow subtly impeded. We need to be able to sleep a regular number of hours and remove all distractions and excitements that might disturb.
Yes, now going into this one, sleep. That is one thing that I have witnessed that will change your life drastically. If you are not getting the sleep needed, your body cannot heal. You cannot advance on with your life. You could become bedbound. I mean, there is so much that can happen to you without sleep. Sleeping regular hours is vital to who you are as a person.
I didn't sleep from the age of 14 to 30. I didn't sleep more than 4 hours at a time, and usually it was just 4 hours a night. And the manicness and the inability to comprehend or cope with anything, it was insane. And I would go 3 days and not have any sleep, and I mean beyond manic. I mean literal hallucinations.
Yes.
Voices in the head that I know weren't coming really from anywhere, no spirit. It was just pure hell. And then I remember the first night that I had 8 hours of sleep, and that was like the first time, like I said, since I was 14, and it changed like everything. It was just like a deep reset.
Yeah.
And then we've slept. I mean, it's like I haven't had that happen now since we've been living right. I've only had, I could count on one hand, I could count like 4 times that that's maybe happened to me in the past, like, 7 years,
Yeah.
where I haven't been able to sleep and I've started to get a little panicky.
Where maybe that's what you could have counted the opposite before.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it was, I honestly I couldn't remember any time that I slept more than 4 hours
Yeah.
in that span. It was hell. It's not good.
No.
And I mean, you know, from driving and
Oh, yeah.
traveling and everything, you get
Just-
fuzzy.
Yeah, what it does to you.
It takes a while to unravel the damage that's done too.
Yes.
But yeah, your brain, it definitely needs a lot of rest and a lot of water.
Yeah, water. That's another important one. Always drink water. All right, let's advance on.
Our streams of thought. This is by no means an easy set of priorities. It is indeed as much hard work as managing a law firm. But the yogis and sages advise that it delivers us a far more secure hold on the actual ingredients of contentment than the bank account of a newly installed CEO with a yacht off Barbuda. Some of the reason why this continues to feel unreal is that we simply can't imagine that success, great wealth, and a palace wouldn't, in the end, do the trick. And that, in turn, is because too few people who have been blessed with such accoutrements have ever given us an
We're
honest
supposed
account
to
of what it
suffer on
felt
this
like to
plane of
have them.
existence, no matter what
Intellectual
religion you believe
history,
in, so that
with
we
its
can have
dire
greater rewards in the
incantations
next
against a
one and
worldly
have
life, has been
that
written by a
peace,
set of suspiciously
you know.
poor
You
and
can have
envious
peace so you
sounding
can have
people.
some comforts here.
It is therefore highly fortuitous and extremely
You can't
reassuring
buy it.
that Buddhism should have been founded by a disgruntled former playboy, Siddhartha Gautama, who once had a palace and a trust fund, fame and servants, but gave them up to sit under a Bodhi tree and could therefore tell us, with the benefit of lived experience, what material goods can really do and not do for us. And without false modesty, he insisted that they won't be enough. The food may be tasty and the rooms elegant, but such advantages cannot serve their purpose so long as one's mind is haunted and unsteady, as it invariably will be without a long emotional education and regular spiritual practice. We should take the East's warnings seriously. However hard we strive, it is logical that we can only be as happy as our minds are at peace. And given how vulnerable we are to mental disturbances, and how short our lives are, we should, on balance, almost certainly spend a little more time on our psyches, and a little less time on our plans for a second home and a New York office. The West has produced too many unhappy playboys, and the East too many genuinely peaceful sages, for us not to shift our attention away from conquering the world, towards taming our minds.
Very true.
I mean, it's almost become a trope. You know, the
For more from the School of
trust fund boy that, you know, has all the women and has the cars and has the house and everything, but he's damaged and he's unable to commit to people and he's broken and he's sad. And
Yes.
it's like I'm thinking, what was that movie? It was Ryan Gosling. He was like a perfect example of that.
The one where he with Emma Stone, right?
Yeah.
I can't remember it.
Tristan. Steve Carell movie where he jumps out of the car. What's it called?
50 First Dates?
No.
That's Adam Sandler.
No, hold on.
No, it's like
That's how they names.
Crazy Stupid Love.
Crazy Stupid Love.
Yes.
For some reason, Irresistible was coming to mind, but Crazy Stupid Love, yes.
Stop, guys. You know, he was that way, and it was like, what did it come down to? It came down to his parents were not involved in his life. You know, think of Iron Man too. He had all of those things, and he was really smart, but he didn't have his parents in his life. That
They had all the money they could want,
yeah.
but not having a family, and family is more valuable than any amount of money that you could get. Money will only buy so much happiness. It might make you happy for a little while, but it's fleeting.
It's like you should only be bringing money in if it benefits like your family long term or other people. You know.
Yes.
It's like, if we have money, we build with it.
Well, I was gonna say, any money that comes in through us now, All three of us have our own channel. Eventually, we would like to be monetized so that we can put it back in and make our channels bigger. Now, any money that we get just goes back into what we do, no matter what.
Yeah, we will never buy things the way that you see on these other channels.
No.
You're not going to see us destroying fancy equipment just because we have the money to do so. You know, we'll give things away, we'll give money away, we'll give prizes away.
Yeah, we will help people, whoever we can help out.
We will build our monastery more, we'll make room for the animals, but you're never ever going to see that on this channel.
No,
You know,
on any of our channels.
It's like we have our little family vacations, you know, 24 hours here, 24 hours there.
Yep. Which reminds me, ladies and gentlemen, coming up pretty next week will be on Wolf Boy Productions is 24 hours at Great Wolf Lodge. Tune in on his channel for that one.
That was fun.
Yes.
That was fun.
But yes, we have our small getaways, but
And it took years to be able to do that too.
Yes,
I mean,
it has.
You have to understand, it was like 4 years of not going anywhere.
no.
I mean, actually, you and I didn't go anywhere since like our honeymoon, so we hadn't been anywhere for like, what, 14 years
Yeah.
before we went somewhere. So yeah, I mean, we put in the time, and then like working with the animals and making sure that stuff is secure, and we put in the time
Oh, we
and
put
the
in a lot of
work
time, yes.
just to have those little gems of being able to go away and spend time with family.
Yes.
And get out of the mindset that we are here all the time. But it's you know, like service. You know, the
Yes, it is.
Eastern mindset is about service. What can I do for others? What can I do to make things better? It's about serving, not about what can I get. It's service mentality.
Yes. Namaste. You hunker down, you serve. That's why our Sundays are spent without internet, without devices. We do not do anything like that. We simply spend it on family and doing whatever is needed. Resting,
We might play games together.
animals.
We write. You know, we might do spirit studies if we haven't done it throughout the week. And like my videos will be premiering on Sundays.
Yes.
But I'm not going to be there.
Yeah,
you
we
know.
won't be around to respond to any of those, but just know if you ever do respond on a Sunday, on Monday, we will make sure to get back to you. We appreciate it all.
Now
All
there's
right, now we have to go on to MTR,
the dessert.
Mediocre Tutorial Review. Like I said, he's a great guy. If you're interested in this type of material, please head over and check him out. He's worth it.
He was the first channel that I found when researching into the Manoverse.
Yes.
You know, the Manosphere, Manoverse, whatever they want to call it. But
Yes.
it was the first step in that direction. It was just super balanced, very truthful, very, very Autumn-like. I like that.
Yes.
We're patient. We don't nag much. And we
is
actually
from 2
care
years
about
ago,
your
you said?
opinion.
Yep. And
Doesn't
another
that
website
sound
comes
refreshing
up
for a
with-
change?
Yes, yes, it does.
And maybe
Pete.
Yes.
And really became a trend because of this.
Of
I mean,
course.
this has been happening for years and years and years, since World War II, World War I, you know. Oh, did you pause it? I was
Yeah.
just doing it because there's an intro.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, I mean, it's been happening for years, and so the only reason that they started noticing about it was because haters started posting, and so then it's kind of like helped the whole movement. You
For
know?
sure.
Good.
And we're a member of Mediocre's channel too, so you know we check in every now and again with that, and we've, you know, done super chats and on his lives, and also at some point I would love to do a live stream with him, having a conversation about any of this or whatever else is trending at that point. So if any of you know him, please let him know.
All right, guys, you're taking a look at the thumbnail. You're taking a look at the title of the video. You already know what time it is. It is time to get active. All right? Content today comes from the Filipina P. Title of the video, Taking the Red Pill. Okay? Now, this is a fascinating video. We're going to have a lot of fun here today. Okay? What this video is she's taking a look at the red pill and the reason why people, men specifically, go their own way, and in relation to Western culture versus Eastern culture. Okay, this is very fascinating. My guess is there's going to be a lot of you that are going to file for your passport right after you watch this video. Without further ado.
Well, according to the you Western men have been sold a lie. You were raised to believe a Disney fantasy. Work hard, be a good man, treat your wife well, have children, retire in your golden age and enjoy what you've earned. That's the way it should have been. It's what your parents and society told you it would be.
Yeah.
If you were just a good husband and provider.
Uh-oh.
But as you got older,
What happened?
you saw the glitches in the matrix.
Uh-oh.
You became aware that something was rotten in Denmark and every other Western culture,
Uh-oh.
where women seem to be going way beyond the desire for equality, which is a just and noble goal. But
True.
the women in your culture became loud, vulgar, aggressive, physically unattractive, and you notice it from the sidelines of your life, comfortable in the belief that it didn't really affect you because maybe you were already married and settled. But then something happened to your own relationship and you got a bitter taste of the new reality. Maybe your kids were taken away, your bank accounts destroyed by lawyers and greedy exes. And when you finally recovered from all that, you realized that the world you thought you lived in was now cold and barren.
Uh-oh. Jesus. Let's take a quick pause. Let's take a quick breather. Woo! Let's let the track breathe real quick, okay? Shit. Okay? Her content on her channel normally has nothing to do with any of this content. It's usually about, things in the Philippines. She's just talking about, things in the Philippines, kind of promoting the country. And then she drops this video, and the way that she articulates the issues that the modern man is experiencing from a Western culture perspective, it's very well. Now, what I will say is that shout out to her depiction of, essentially feminism is what she was talking about. This fight for equality was noble and just, made a lot of sense. It's when we talk about first wave feminism. But today's version of it goes way too far. And then, what she then begins to talk about is now because you have this shift where the man's thoughts don't matter anymore, or, this is why we can invalidate you because there's a patriarchy and men shit, da-da-da-da. All of a sudden, you start to see all this other bullshit get out of line. But I think what's interesting is when she talks about all this, she's talking from a married man perspective, which I think makes a lot of sense because, first of all, I think MGTOW, not going to say the whole word, shout out to YouTube censorship, the majority of it was started by married or divorced men, okay? Married men that were stuck or divorced men that got divorce graped, okay? And then a lot of them said, bump this, and went over to the Philippines. So maybe that's her experience, is that there's a lot of divorced and unhappily married dudes that go into the Philippines looking for better options. But let's proceed.
Your women no longer value or respect you because big government has replaced you. Instead of being the hero, somehow you're now the villain.
Yeah.
Marriage is poison to you, and you see absolutely no benefit from it. You're angry, and rightly so. But understanding the reality has resulted in several distinct philosophies. Now, I don't mean to be disrespectful, but there seems to be a segment of the MGTOW population that has become completely anti-female.
That's true.
Who view all women with suspicion and don't seem to care much about the way they interact with the opposite sex.
That's true.
While I can
Especially on the
understand how
internet.
their experiences have left them feeling this way, I don't agree with their views or actions.
Yeah, me neither.
The term AWOL, which means all women are like that, only applies in a broad sense. I feel your pain, but not all women are out to separate you from your money. Not all of us are lying scammers.
Yeah,
And not all of us are your enemies.
big true.
If you're just here in the Philippines as a pickup artist, or to get revenge on the women here for how you were treated back home, or to use my country as a
it's not
playground
fair
for your
them to
sexual
go over
escapades,
Uh-oh.
and don't care who you hurt along the way, I have no sympathy for you, and you're not my friends. If, however, you're one of those men that's reassessed his options, but hasn't given up on women altogether, then let me refer back to the statement I made earlier.
Okay.
It seems to me that MGTOWs and other red-pilled men might be the natural allies of us Filipinas.
Uh-oh.
Because in many cases, we're the exact opposite of the very things you detest. I have a
Now, before she gets into the things that she detests, I appreciate her statement, right? Because she can talk about the philosophy. Obviously, she's very knowledgeable about the philosophy, at least at a surface level, okay? At least at a surface level. But she also calls out the reality of why some men just go completely over there. There's two sects of men. There's the ones that are looking for revenge from the life that they left behind, and then they seek out much more docile and traditional women and exploit those to fill in some type of gap that therapy should be filling in for them. But I appreciate the way that she called that out, because those that have experienced trauma and haven't healed their toxicity can be inflictions of pain on the other people, other unsuspecting people.
feeling that might be one of the reasons there are so many of you here. When you look at us, you see an Asian version of the women in your own countries from 50 years ago. And in many ways, you're right. So what is it about Filipinas that you find so appealing? Why are we considered by many to be such a desirable catch?
Talk about it, please.
Let me take a minute to tell you some of the ways we are different from what you're used to.
I want to hear.
The things that make me proud to be a Filipina.
Talk to me.
If you're lucky enough to find yourself in a relationship with a quality Filipina, and yes, there are many of us, here are some things you can expect. We're feminine. We take care of ourselves and try to look like women. Even if we're completely broke, somehow we find a way to wear dresses and style our hair in an attractive way.
Yep.
We're frugal.
Hold on, let me talk about one real quick. The calling out of we're feminine. Round of applause. Round of applause. Listen, how many times, do I do these, what do you bring to the table type conversations, and they never bring up the idea of we are feminine. And it's because within Western culture, they have completely disrespected the idea and the importance of femininity and how much men adore feminine women. Okay, feminine women. And feminine not just at the onset, right? Not feminine.
So, butch looking,
Yes.
and it's like they cut their hair short and they wear like ball caps and baggy clothes, and it's like I did that until I was about 15.
Yeah.
And then it was like I started dressing like I was supposed to, and it's like I don't know what the aversion of being feminine. I don't know. I don't understand what the aversion of that is. It's like, I mean, how many girls have been, even from high school, they were like, oh, I don't want to be some Barbie doll. And
Yeah,
like, you don't have to
you
be
don't
a
have to
Barbie
be.
doll. You could just be like a normal woman. You don't have to, but you don't have to look like a dude.
No, you don't. And it's like, here's a little clip from my next video that I'll be doing. And it's, shocker. Men want women. They don't want their friends. They don't want other guys. They're looking for a woman.
You don't want bros.
Yeah.
It's like, we're always friends, but I always like, I like to think that I maintain at least some degree of femininity.
Of course you do, all the time. That's just it, ladies and gentlemen. Women forget that. Women let themselves go.
They think that they want to be, sorry.
No good.
They think that they want to, losing my voice anyway. There's something called pick-me behavior. And most of the pick-me's that I've seen, it's like they act like one of the guys. They go and they do the chest bump thing. Or they, it's like they wear the jerseys and, oh, I love football and all that. And it's like, I don't inherently think that often, works.
No.
We share interests.
Yeah.
But, I don't know. Go ahead.
It's the way it is.
Where they look certain ways for you in order to attract you, and then at the point that they got you, then they just let off the slack. But just notice the confidence when she says, "'Cause we're feminine." There's a whole bunch of dudes over here that just melted in their seat like, oh God, you over there looking up flights to the Philippines right now, aren't you? Okay, I don't blame you. Let's proceed.
Generally speaking, A Filipino won't go on extravagant shopping sprees even if we have the means. The dress I'm wearing? 100 pesos.
Wow.
$2.
Wow.
We're not used to having much
Yes.
money anyway.
Right.
And mostly all we worry about are basic needs.
Uh.
It really doesn't take much for us to feel safe and happy.
This is that Eastern culture is a lot different than the Western culture, all right? They're not living a materialistic society. And so here's the thing. When we talk about expectations
That's
from
the
like a
key.
salary perspective of dudes making median salary, okay? It puts a lot of strain on those dudes if they want to be the ultimate provider, even though that's average salary. Now compare that to over there, where the expectations for material goods and needs are just not where it needs to be. And these women are being feminine to dudes that are making average salaries because that's what makes sense. That's what makes sense when we talk about this
Yep.
recalibration, your expectations and your needs and what you think that you want. Meanwhile, all of the shit that you need to, that you think that you need is not shit that you really actually need. It's shit that you want to keep up with what your homegirls are doing. Meanwhile, you got P over here.
Yes, and that's the key, ladies and gentlemen, is if you're saying, well, I want that, or I'm going to get that. Think about it. Do you want it?
No, they
Or-
literally will say, I need that. They've said it.
Yeah.
It's like, oh no, I need that.
And it's like, yeah, and what does need have anything to do with it? Because it's how you are. Can you go without it?
Yeah,
Is
yeah.
it absolutely necessary in your life?
Yes. So you have to weigh
Yes.
need versus want. It's like you say, oh, I need these things. Do you need them?
Do you?
Or do you want them?
Yes.
And if you want them, it's not needed. you don't
Yeah.
you don't get it. You don't get the damn thing.
And if you do, you could be in serious trouble down the line. I mean, if you're one of those willing to just, I'll pay for it and worry about it later. That does not work.
Credit card generations and stuff.
Yeah, credit cards have gotten so many people in trouble.
Yep.
I mean, so many.
It's like we keep our debts to a minimum, and
Yes.
I do everything in my power to minimize cost and maximize efficiency. And so we make our own clothes. You know, it's like I think the only outside cosmetic thing is the makeup pins that you
Yes.
get me every now and then, just one eyeliner, you know, because it's a sacred thing to me.
Yes, for sure.
And, you know, I just, you know, take care of your own nails and make
Yes.
your own skincare. It's like, you know, it's kind of crazy to me that this is like not the norm.
I know.
You know, it's
The
like
Western is.
it's just kind of crazy to me. I'm gonna move. So I don't keep interrupting you because I keep doing that.
No, you're fine.
$2 dress, and honestly, you asked me, that look like some Fashion Nova shit. that look like some $50, $60 Fashion Nova shit.
I once made
All
a dress
right,
for
you look
69
good,
cents.
P. You
Exactly.
look good. All right,
That's the
let's
key.
keep going.
And it looked
We
great,
can cook
too.
and know how to take care
It
of a
was really good.
household.
It wasn't so good.
Unlike the dying art of cooking in
Stop me
much
up.
of the Western world, give a Filipina just a few simple ingredients and
Sure.
she'll cook you something that will leave you full and satisfied.
Make the world.
Yep.
I'm happy to say that I'm a pretty darn good cook myself. We make great
You know, my wife and I both cook. Your daughter Ravat in here. And what I won her over with was top ramen and grilled cheese sandwiches. That was the thing that I won her over with.
And I will tell you that I had dined with princes, and I had 5 to 7 course meals throughout my life. I've been to some really extraordinary places, and nothing compared to that meal. It was like so warm and homey, and just it had the perfect amount of broth and the saltiness to it, and the crunch for the sandwich. I remember it to this day. Nothing compared.
Right?
companions.
Hit me up, P.
So would be happy just to spend their time with their mates, sharing the passage of time as a couple, not as two people who happen to have the same address.
Listen, the 11 and a half women that are watching this show right now, I guarantee you
My
there's a
wife
bunch
is
of
one of
dudes.
those.
What? Look at the comment section right now. Watch these dudes go off in the comment section. But again, when we do the videos about what do you bring to the table, do they ever speak like this? Take note.
I did a short about that.
Yes. And for the longest time, we always thought my wife was that 0.5.
We're patient.
No, they're
We
short.
don't nag much. and we actually care about your opinion. Doesn't that sound refreshing for a change?
Yes, yes, it does.
And maybe the best trait of all, we're not consumed by careers and the desire for personal recognition. We tend to have simple goals, and we're happy just being who we are.
Who they are.
If you find a good one,
Where's my travel agent?
Filipinas can be among the most loyal women in the world, and we know how to keep our men happy. Isn't that worth taking a closer look at? Even if it means totally restructuring your life and coming to a strange land with a strange culture?
They're not plagued by feminism, you know. So again, if you take a look at the things that she's talking about, she has an appreciation for men. She has an appreciation for men. Men want to go where they're accepted at the end of the day. We work goddamn hard in order to keep up, in order to build a life for ourselves and to keep up, retain that life. And here's the thing is that I talk about all day. What is the business case? What is the cost benefit analysis of allowing you in my life? What is that? What will make me stop all of the stuff that I'm doing that is making me currently as happy as what it is for your ass? It's a great question. I am the turbo. Bullshit. Let's keep going.
I guess you have to ask yourself, what is it you want out of life? What's important to you?
Happiness, joy.
What would make you happy?
Yes.
A pretty young fine.
And that brings us back around to the MGTOWs.
Uh-oh.
Just for fun, try Googling MGTOW.
No thanks.
The very first search result brands these men as a misogynistic, anti-feminist group tied to white supremacists and the alt-right.
Wow.
In my
is that for
opinion,
real?
that's absolutely ridiculous. From what I can tell,
Yeah, that's not.
against them.
How many times do I gotta tell you guys? That's
Yes.
ridiculous. Some random YouTube employee gonna be like, okay, where are all these people reporting this video about MGTO? Not even gonna finish it. And then they go and they find outright white supremacists on top of that. Of course, that makes sense on surface level why they block videos like that. Of course, that actually makes a lot of sense. You control the information, you control the power.
They
To do,
rather work
for
on
sure.
themselves as individuals and find enlightenment through self-improvement. They're not even a group. There are no protests, no demonstrations, no apparent organization. Just individual guys who see through the smoke and the mirrors of the Truman Show they were living in.
Wow, the Truman Show that they are living in.
Yep.
Guys,
Just
I'm gonna end the
watched that
video
one
right
recently,
here,
too.
mostly because I want you to go to her channel, check out everything. It's a travel channel, so you can see more about the Philippines. And, you know, if you're thinking about traveling abroad, I know right now with kind of what's going on with COVID, that may not be in lines
This
with
is like when COVID
reality,
first started, huh?
but it is what it is. You know, you can start planning something
Yeah.
for 2022 based off of that. Shout out again to the Filipina P. None of y'all send her DMs because, you know, she's my girlfriend now. Okay. All jokes aside, guys, I like going over videos like this of other people speaking about like content within the sector and then why dudes are talking the way that they are right now. And it's very refreshing to see not only a respect of some of the talking points, but then also the reality of some of the dudes that are within the space, but then also speak about that there are solutions that are elsewhere. And that's what, you know, when I see up on the internet, the passport game, some of them are just saying, the atomic bomb has already crashed in Western civilization, or the coochie marketplace has crashed in Western culture. Instead of trying to salvage something that's been decimated, I'll just go over here and do my thing, okay? Link to the description box down below to finish out the video and take a look at the content. Questions, comments, concerns? Y'all already know what to do. Mediocre tutorials and reviews at gmail.com. Guys, feel free to hit me up. Got an Instagram as well. Feel free to go up there.
Yep.
Link down in the description box down below. I go live up there now, so make sure you guys go up there. Hit on the notification bell to join the discussion. Last but not least, I got a Patreon. Okay, that's hooked up to a Discord server. So many benefits, so little time. If you guys want to get closer to me and my inner circle, talk to my community in our group discussions, you know where to find me. Okay? Until next time, YouTube.
Peace.
Peace.
All right. onward to another mediocre. Yeah. If I can get more people involved in these too, it would be awesome.
So I gotta get this off my chest. I'm sorry. So y'all know in my last video I talked about not being a wife to your boyfriend. How it's levels to this. Be acting like a wife if you ain't one.
They're gonna be mad. They're gonna be mad. What
Look
did
at
you
Thanos.
fold in my clothes?
They're
gonna be mad.
Mediocre Thanos.
Oh my god. Damn, you damn near have them in the color court? Wow.
I seen it.
I know a lot of people are mad about this.
I use my relationship as an example because I've been in a long-term relationship and there's just some things I don't do. Things I consider to be duties a wife would do.
By the way she takes care of me, she inspires me every day.
I like this guy. One of his videos we had on.
Oh, why he must not. He. Baby, where in y'all mind do y'all believe that marriage is solely up to the man? If anything. If anything, it's my decision. Trust me, a man knows when you want to marry his ass. And let's be clear, I've never been one of those women who walk around the world looking for a man or a husband. Getting married is not even in my top 3. It's barely making my top 5.
Being a domestic partner is normal for her. I take care of the bills, she takes care of the house. That's the kind of world I want to live in.
Because women are the prize. I'm not going half. I'm not tipping. I'm not all my turn. I'm not your girlfriend, okay? McDonald's don't suffice for me no more. I'm grown. I'm grown!
This is my partner in crime. My lover, my friend, my translator, my right hand here in Thailand. And the craziest part of it all, the women outnumber the men here, it seems like 40 to 1.
Getting married is not even in my top 3. It's barely making my top 5. But it is something I want one day. That day will be when I am where I want to be as my own woman.
What do the men you want from a woman?
In America, Essence.com, they posted this article, right, based on research from matchmakers with the top 7 reasons as to why black men do not want to approach black women. The 7 reasons, some of them was, we don't seem as fun, right? We look like we can't be bothered. This is about black women, and black men think this. We don't offer enough support.
Like, even if you're toxic, even if you wild, you crazy, whatever, the right nigga really like show you the way.
No, because he make me feel like, how old is you? Like, grow the up.
Oh, he get you with
that. He do that to me. Then he makes me be like, okay, let me, because I used to pack my shit up, like, I'm leaving,
that's me.
Booking the flight. Really never booked the flight. Fake booking the flight, like, call my manager, like, yeah.
We don't offer enough support.
Let me give you another example. As I'm editing, she'll see my fingernails are dirty and start cutting my nails. I can't make this up.
We're more inhibited sexually,
Yes.
and men's friendliness is always misunderstood by black women, and we put too much pressure on black men.
Wait a minute. Are we saying if black women are really single, or the quality of guys that are out there are not necessarily?
All right, so I know y'all been asking me, because I said it in my type, tap in on how to bag an 8-figure man. Well, let's start with step 1.
No, the number of men are just not wanting to commit.
The quality of guy out there, they're just not strong enough. They're just insecure. They can't handle it. They've just gotten weaker over time.
Well, and some of the guys have got weaker, and the women have gotten stronger.
Right.
Complete opposite of what it's supposed to be.
It's like, you know.
Yes.
For all of your insecurities and how meek and mild and like non-confrontational you were when it came to those matters, dealing with me.
Yes.
You were there. You were like confident. You were strong.
I know.
You know.
I know now. I knew then.
You know, and it was like it was not aggressive in any particular type of way. It was just committed.
Yep.
And, no, but if the men are weaker, it's because the mothers have not raise them well.
Well, exactly. And see, I myself was raised in a split household. My parents divorced, and I was raised mostly by my mother. So I had the softer side. But my dad was still around. I still saw my dad, but I was raised mostly by my mother.
Yeah. And it's kind of good because, like I said, it does give you the leg up on, spirituality because
Yes.
you know how to listen and engage and you're like really caring about people and everything. So it's like there was benefits to that, but without having the harder, more masculine, you just
Yes.
have to leg up and do it. You can't avoid stuff. You just have to do it. You didn't have that. Where
I know.
like the opposite. I didn't have my father in my life, and my mother was ultra aggressive. So I ended up in like gaining a huge amount of aggressive masculinity. Like women can't be when there's masculinity within us, it comes out as aggression. That's why they always say, well, you're being a bitch. And they're like, well, if that was a guy, he would be heralded as being, just strong and, authoritative. But I'm a bitch. Well, only because that's how it comes out.
Yes.
Our masculinity comes out as aggression. Natural masculinity within a man comes out as calm and authoritative.
Exactly.
It's like, I've always known when I've gone too far with you, and you've never raised your voice at me, but I've known. It's like, like my grandfather, he never really, he had a couple outbursts, but for the most part, it was just calm, even, don't do that. And you
just take it and not like be a pushover.
Right, no,
but just take it
calm authority.
To the point that you're not overreacting to any situation.
Right, it's just, very monk-like.
Be that situation.
But yeah, masculinity in women always comes out as aggression, and you can see it in the modern women now.
Yeah.
Western women, you see it right here.
Exactly. All right, advancing on.
Ladies, it all begins with the law of attraction.
This is what she do. She lets me get my work done. She doesn't nag. She makes me breakfast every morning. And she can fry some chicken. Taj know how to fry. I even taught her how to make grits. She makes me grits in the morning. She's learning pancakes. She's a good cook. Whatever I like or whatever makes me happy, that's what she does to keep me happy.
Yeah. But I had to learn from old stories. My mother didn't teach me.
No. Oh, yeah.
Alright, guys, you're looking at the thumbnail, you're looking at the title of the video. Y'all already know what time it is. It is time to get active. Guys, I uploaded a video none too long ago. The title of that video was Why I'm Moving to Thailand. Western Women Are a Scam. Shout out to the views on that video, encroaching on 350K. Shout out to Richie Mack from Zoom to Thailand. I see you, my G. All right. Now, this particular video got an incredible reception, and truth be told, I didn't think it would get as dope as a reception as this. If you haven't seen it, go off and look for it. So I began to ask myself, where really deep-rooted is this reception coming from? And let me also add in as well, the reception was just not positive from men, but it was positive from women as well. Why? Because there was a lot of women that was down in there writing tips down of the things that they should be doing in order to secure a dude. But what really is it? Like, what is it about what was seen in that video that caused such a stir? And what I actually think that it is this independent, I'm a boss bae lifestyle within the modern woman today. The toxic boss bee has an incredible mountain to climb today, especially after the information in spheres like this has made it incredibly known to the men that have tolerated the bullshit for decades. Because what they have done is they have artificially implanted value into a system where there was no value to begin with. Sort of like if you enter a car dealership and you're looking at a hoopty, but the car dealer is gaslighting you to thinking it's the greatest product in the lot. But these toxic boss chicks, what they do is that they leverage feminism as if it is a religion and construct it in this matrix of a society that the more masculine, the more independent, the more that they require of you, the more valuable that they are. They will throw out illogical, inconsistent messages to you to change and alter your perception of what actual value is, such as...
So I gotta get this off my chest, I'm sorry. So y'all know in my last video, I talked about not being a wife to your boyfriend. How it's levels to this shit. Be acting like a wife if you ain't one.
Oh, really? Because the basic minimum requirements for a man in a relationship is husband duties. Because the man is supposed to provide, protect, and provision. Meanwhile, they are not incentivized and don't have a clue on how to bring peace, inspiration, and then they create their ideas of beauty, wearing things on their body and doing things on the gram that is completely and utterly ridiculous.
Because this is just like I can't even believe this. Sometimes like I wake up and I just can't believe I look this girl. Come on now. So if you've been thinking about getting surgery, you've been hesitant and stuff like that, take this as a sign. Because I'm telling you, it's gonna be so worth it. Hanging over my jeans is now in here. So people are like, oh my gosh, that's fake. When you transfer money from your checkings to your savings, is that still your money? It is, right? So I'm technically still natural because it's all mine. You know, it just got moved. All right.
Moving it.
But not only has surgery just really helped me, financially,
but
my confidence has boosted. Like I look exactly how I always imagine myself looking.
Your savings is still yours.
Like,
a little bit.
shout out to Dr.
And modern men today, which have been indoctrinated into what is considered normal in Western society, take a look at a much more traditional culture, and their mouths begin to water. From a Western perspective, really the concept that modern men today are placing in their head is what costs more, a maid or a divorce? Because the equation is that any modern man today technically could get sex, could get maid duties and activities, man with resources provided to him. He might miss out on all of the femininity, right? Long-term, healthy, loving relationship. But if the majority of modern women today are on this boss beat, boss chick status shit, they wouldn't have gotten it for long-term anyway.
Oh, they're gonna be mad. They're gonna be mad. What did you fold in my clothes? They're gonna be mad. Oh my God. Damn, you damn near have them in the color court? Wow. I know a lot of people are mad about this.
Another illogical inconsistency that's often pushed is this idea that men and women are equal.
Well, why he ain't? He must not. He. Baby, where in y'all mind do y'all believe that marriage is solely up to the man?
The Western perspective has become so distorted that these boss babes actually think that marriage is by and large not initiated by men. It's the man that gets on bended knee. It's the man that, in general, is making more money, so is setting up much more of his assets at risk and at stake. And men now today are increasing their knowledge of understanding the risk of them entering the family court system. So the question of it at its core is how many men that you consider valuable are getting down on bended knee.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I just did a video on this one too, on the divorce rate. Now, it is crazy in the States and with a lot of Western culture how easy it is for people just to, they get married because they're like, oh, well, if it comes down to it, I'll divorce him. That's fine. Or there's the gold diggers that do it just to get the money from the person. But no matter what, they're going out there, spreading themselves all around, spreading everything around just because they're like, well, I'll just divorce and, I'll be free of it all anyway. It doesn't matter. Instead of spiritually saving yourself along with, physically, mentally, everything for that one person.
My mother, on the day of her wedding, which was back in like the 80s, I believe it was the late 70s or early 80s, on the day of her wedding, my grandfather asked her, are you Are you worried? Are you nervous? Are you nervous to be married? And she said, no, because I can always just get a divorce if it doesn't work out. I mean, on the day of her wedding, she already had a contingency plan that if it didn't work out, divorces are easy. You know, already, like in the 70s or the 80s, already had that mindset.
Yeah, and that's from our parents and moving on. I mean, if you would have asked from the grandparents, divorces were not heard of pretty much no matter the situation. Now, I'm not saying that divorces aren't necessary. I get there's certain cases that it is.
Well, what the problem was is they came up with the no-fault divorce, which I can't remember when that came out. We'll have to look up when that came out. But the no-fault divorce, where you can just cite amicable differences or whatever, you don't have to have any real reason. That was when it really came into play, because divorces have been allowed all the way back to our tribal times.
Yeah.
But you had to cite an enormous amount of evidence that, I mean, like you were getting yourself beat, or that he was just like totally irresponsible drunk and he used up all of your funds.
Yes.
That he was like mentally unstable, or she was mentally unstable, but it's like you had to have a big amount of evidence to make that happen. So I mean, divorces have always been allowed. Exactly. But really, really rare circumstances. But now, yeah, no fault divorce is what
it comes down to.
Yeah, and I'm not sure when that. Here, let me look it up.
And ladies and gentlemen, please check out my videos. Like I said, I did one on this not that long ago. On the divorce, I talk about what happened with my parents and a few other things. So just check that out, and you can see what I went through.
I mean, yeah, in your case, you don't really know who initiated the divorce.
No.
But you can almost imagine that it was your mother, because just knowing her patterns.
Yeah.
She was the one to break away.
Yeah, she went through about... well, like at least 3 marriages that I know of, but that's not including the other situationships, as they would call them.
Right, no,
that
yes,
she has done.
Exactly. And, you know, when she did finally find a couple of strong masculine men that were willing to take control, and, you know, she totally rebelled.
She would dog out, and she was like, oh, no. She's like, I make my own money. You know, she was that same problem.
I mean, it just seems kind of funny that both of us had mothers that went materialistic and wild and broke away from tradition.
Exactly.
You know, my grandmother was married for 57 years until the day that, you know, my grandfather died, and they got together when they were 19 years old.
Exactly. I mean, that's awesome.
And it's like my mother tried to paint this picture of, well, how horrible it was and how much she suffered and how she had to give up $50,000. And I'm like, yeah, but then he made that back, and she didn't want for anything else for the rest of her life. Yeah. You know, I mean, there was, of course, some questionable things, but the point is they made it work, and she seemed to be happy, and she still talks well about him. So, I mean, what can I say?
Yeah, there's not much to say there. All right, let me know when you find that. We'll continue the video.
And proposing to you.
I got it already.
Not men that are in your inbox trying to get dates out of you or trying to get butt out of you.
1969.
So 1969, ladies and gentlemen,
is when no-fault divorce came in to the law. California, of course.
California. Yep.
So 3 years after Governor Brown urged reforming California's fault-based divorce law, Governor Ronald Reagan signed the Family Law Act of 1969 into law, making California the first no-fault divorce state in the nation.
That figures. California, that we get the shoddy end of the whole thing.
Land of fruits and nuts. All right. Finish it up. Do you think you'll make it?
I think so.
You need me to support your back?
How many men are getting down and proposing to you? Because truth be told, is the type of men that would accept a ring from a woman is a low value, if not unknowledgeable man. Because why would he accept all of the risk without initiating that decision?
Yep. It should be, yes. And I mean, it just makes a man feel demasculated.
Men determine marriage, while women determine sex. We'll give y'all that one.
I don't want to hear, oh, why men always have to pay. Because women are the prize. I'm not going half. I'm not tipping. I'm not, oh, my turn. I'm not your girlfriend, okay? McDonald's don't suffice for me no more. I'm grown.
Women are the prize? Really? When will y'all get it into y'all feminist minds that prize is not a construct of gender, Prize is a construct of your utility within that other person's life. This I am the prize because I reside in this gender is some of the most cockamamie bullshit I have ever heard in my goddamn life. So when men look at the video of the young lady in Thailand, they are seeing someone who is a prize because she provides so much utility within a man's life. And in return, that man will jump over mountains in order to provide and protect 100% because they bring peace, understanding, and femininity every single day through high times and low times without skipping a beat.
This is what she do. She lets me get my work done. She doesn't nag. She makes me breakfast every morning. And she can fry some chicken. Taj know how to fry. I even taught her how to make grits. She makes me grits in the morning. She's learning pancakes. She's a good cook. I mean, whatever I like or whatever makes me happy, that's what she does to keep me happy.
When the complete bastardization or the simplification or the equality of gender roles becomes the norm in a particular culture, and specifically a first world culture, then the men get the shit end of the stick. The man-hating, the disrespect become norm within the culture. And in fact, women are conditioned to compete with men while disregarding their own feminine nature, their own feminine virtues. I don't gotta deal with women who don't appreciate me, who don't appreciate men, as if my masculinity is inherently toxic and I can't flex my complete and utter masculine being for fear of getting shamed out of it or insulted out of it. For all the other men that have the opportunity to travel.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, he's talking about masculinity and stuff. Now, there's another guy that we've seen on Facebook. I don't know if he's on YouTube. Devontae?
He has one, but he hasn't updated it for a long time.
Okay. His name's what? Devontae Sheard. And he's another one that he talks about the divine masculine and the divine feminine. Now, these are the two separate things, and in order to be your true divine masculine, you have to be one with yourself and with your religion, your spirituality, how you see fit, and you have to be able to be whole. And if the male's in his 100% masculine, the female's in her 100% feminine, that's when the relationship can truly work.
And amazing things happen.
And amazing things happen around you and all around. I mean, it's truly the way that it should be. And even my wife and I are still working those things out because of the Western culture. It's harder. They separate that by far. They try to say, oh, you're supposed to be 50-50. When no, it's 100-100. You both come into the relationship at your top full 100%. There should be no 50-50 because that's not fair. That's making one whole, not the two holes that you are. Have anything else to add, daughter Abatin?
Yeah, I was thinking just because of generational traumas and stuff that we have had to deal with and lifestyle that we have, I feel that like we operate at around, the 80% mark. It's like I still have trust issues dealing with money and everything, and it's really hard to let that go since I was taking care of it for so long.
Yeah.
And it's like it probably would be nice for you to revert back to, oh well, I don't really have to do anything. She's taking care of it.
Yeah.
Like it might, these like that's her business. That sort of thing. It's like that passiveness that's not supposed to be ultra masculine. But I know that we've tasted it, and I know that we're infinitely closer than many of the people around us.
Oh, yes.
Like, I know that it's the right way. I just don't know that I'll ever be able to achieve it in this lifetime, but it is definitely my goal.
Yeah.
And it's good to have a goal, right?
Oh, it's very good to have goals. Yes.
It's like I even realized during this live stream that I started chatting a little too much, a little too fast. So it's like I have to slow it down and wait. And if you want to ask me something, you will. So.
For sure. All right, we'll finish up this video. It's almost done, and then I will end this live stream. So hang in there, people.
Go get y'all passports. My passport actually recently just ended, so I gotta get a renewal right now. So I actually just got mine expedited so I could get it even sooner. You know what I mean? Because your boy gotta do some traveling. All right. Last point for all of the women today that don't appreciate the modern bullshit that they have identified as toxic for them, not securing a man that they want, a man of value. Y'all gotta begin to start speaking up against the bullshit as well, because no more ever in the history of ever has this shit erupted to the way that it is today. And I know that y'all see it, but the engineering of the sister code must be broken down. Sister Shahrazad Ali tried to do it 30 years ago. She had uncountable amount of critics try to silence her. Let's try to re-engineer this today, and it's going to take a lot more than one in order to be able to do it. Questions, comments, concerns? Y'all already know what to do. Mediocre tutorials and reviews at gmail.com. Do y'all agree with me? Do y'all not? Leave it down in the comment box down below. This one should make for...
Alright, ladies and gentlemen, and again, thank you, Mediocre Tutorial and Reviews, MTR. I'm part of the MT Army. Love watching him. I hope that everybody else enjoyed this video too. I'm hoping to do a lot more live streams as, you know, it goes on. I'm gonna talk with Daughter of Aten. Maybe we'll do a Christmas special too, Christmas Day special or something. We'll see what else is going on. Otherwise, namaste, blessed be, all my fellow walkers. If you need or get any gaming advice, please check out Wolf Boy Productions. It's within my channel too. He has great stuff there, and he's getting a major following. So let's get him to the 1,000 mark. Then I have my awesome wife, Daughter of Aten. She's got her channel. She'll be doing her first class for women coming up this Sunday. So make sure to tune in and see what she's up to.
To help build actual feminine value.
Yes, actual feminine value. So ladies and gentlemen, again, thank you. And I will see you next time. Namaste. Blessed be.
This one? Or is it the drop down?
That's for videos. I think it's here. Oh, wait, hold on. Here? This is how we got into it last time. Come on.
YouTube right there.
Right here.